Hello and good morning. Or maybe it's evening for you, it's morning for me at least. It's another graphic novel review by me, Andrew Ace. You spell my last name Uys, and you can find me online, Twitter, Instagram, wherever, at Uys999. So this is another graphic novel review, and this one's going to focus on John Cassaday, an artist who has worked for both Marvel, DC, all the major companies. And for me, he's worked on some pretty major titles with some of my favorite writers. First off, and first up, Astonishing X-Men. This came out, yikes, certainly early 2000s. It is written by Joss Whedon, creator of Buffy and the writer of the Avengers movies that have just come out, Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron. He's one of my favorite creators, and he certainly brings his infamous, his dialogue and his character interaction that, like I said, he's known for. Certainly Buffy, Angel, Dollhouse, though that's certainly not a show that most of the time people want to associate with Joss Whedon. He's known for creating casts with very quippy, intricate slang dialogue that his fans certainly really enjoy, and they enjoy how he brings out the interpersonal relationships even at the same time while bringing on world-ending threats. John Cassaday worked with Joss Whedon for the entirety of their run on Astonishing X-Men. I believe it's issues 1 through 24 along with the giant size, and it's collected in 4 graphic novels, or at least when I bought them, probably these days 2. I'd say it's 13 plus, maybe 15 plus. Certainly there's some mature topics, but certainly I'd probably say that any teenager these days has encountered a lot worse on the internet. So, teen plus, great read, phenomenal art. John Cassaday, Joss Whedon, the X-Men, worth checking out. Next up is another fan favorite, though sort of almost a different direction maybe. Warren Ellis, again, another writer that has a very devoted following of fans and is very famous for his quirky, wild style, works with John Cassaday on Planetary. Now, this is a comic book that they're famous for way back in the 90s, but again, famous or infamously, it was never finished. It came out, or I believe it was coming out under Wildstorm, and I believe it finished. I was actually working at a comic book store at the time that the series concluded, and for years, having worked out, heard about this phenomenal series, Planetary, have to read it, but it isn't complete. And again, I knew the creators, and I knew that I loved both Warren Ellis and John Cassaday's work. So again, the moment those three last issues came out, they brought out the final graphic novel. There's only 4 in the series. I gobbled it all up, and I couldn't say that I was more impressed. This series blows me away. It does help if you're a fan of superheroes and certainly well-read in the DC genre, or multiverse. I should probably call it. I don't think DC is a genre yet. And what they do is the story here is a team of superhero, I want to say time traveling, but sort of superhero archaeologists. They're uncovering the secret superhero history of the 20th century. Don't want to give away more than that, but one of my all-time favorite reads. You can't go wrong for the writing, all the art. Planetary, Warren Ellis, John Cassaday, Wildstorm. Again, 4 volumes, and I should mention this is probably 18 plus. I don't remember any very specifically outright, violence or sexual moments, but again, it's Warren Ellis. You're just better off sort of saying, it's a mature reader title. Next is Captain America. Where would a review be from me without a reference to Captain America? John Cassaday came on the relaunching of Captain America, and this was just after September 11th. I'm going to say possibly around 2002. And he does a great job on the art. It is not my favorite Captain America story, in part because it's a little too almost ripped from the headlines for my taste, and it's about, obviously I know, around September 11th, a lot of comic book companies, Superman, Captain America, were involved using the characters in fundraising. Great. And in some cases try to touch on the stories in the comic books themselves, and I think that was handled with different levels of success. This is not one of the more successful ones, I would say, and I'm sorry that, I'm like, read John Cassaday, these are all great books, and I think it is, it's just maybe not as good as the last two, and certainly 16 plus, it's dealing with some mature subject matter that, obviously we're all exposed to, but now, a number of years later on, and say a younger reader who's 12 or 13, this is after their time in a way. So, what can I say about this? It's Captain America, and it's Captain America drawn by John Cassaday, which is, some of that art's gone on to be some of the most famous Captain America art. There's a variant cover to The Death of Captain America, issue number 25, in the next volume by Ed Brubaker, and that image is my favorite image of Captain America. He really defined the look of the chainmail, and John Cassaday brought a level of craftsmanship to the character. That said, after this volume, the run continues without John Cassaday. Another artist comes on board, and that's something I want to address, because in my last book, and I really want to recommend this, I do recommend this, Uncanny Avengers, but this title hits on, I think, one of my issues when it comes to sort of, I will say, superstar artists. That is, they often aren't on the series for the whole run. Joss Whedon, that's what made it so great. Planetary, with Warren Ellis, they get to do the story that is their story. In this story, though, it's Rick Remender, and the next volume of Uncanny sees a different artist come on board. And it's not necessarily that's a bad thing, but certainly if you're a fan of an artist like John Cassaday, you get into a series like Uncanny Avengers because you came looking to see more John Cassaday artwork. You're a fan of his. You might feel a little disappointed afterwards, having collected a number of issues, become invested in a storyline to find out that the artist has moved on. And the shift can be pretty jarring, depending upon the different styles. And it's not to say that the next artist is bad, but art is subjective, and different artists will change the look, feel, the pacing, how you relate to the story. And that is definitely the case in Uncanny Avengers. So, great read, but if you picked up the first volume and say, oh, John Cassaday, he doesn't stick around. That said, I can't recommend enough checking out Astonishing X-Men and Planetary. They're both 4 volumes, complete stories in that sense. Both all John Cassaday artwork. The man is phenomenal. I can't recommend his other work enough. It's a pity I don't have more. He's done a number of one-shots or 1-2-parters in larger series, and definitely worth checking out his art. It's always, important to support the issues when they come out, but as you can see, I've got this great graphic novel library behind me, and I'll be doing another review soon. Please send in comments, thoughts, books you'd like to see covered. Anyway, my name is Andrew. I'll see you back soon. Take care.